I see a quorum. I must inform members that the clerk of the committee can only receive motions for the election of the chair. The clerk cannot receive other types of motions, cannot entertain points of order, nor participate in debate. We can now proceed to the election of the chair. Pursuant to Standing Order 1062, the chair must be a member of the government party. I am ready to receive motions for the chair. Mr. Svenjman.
Mr. Clerk, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to nominate Ms. Karen McCrimmon as candidate for the presidency of chair of this committee.
Okay, it has been moved by Mr. Svenjman that Ms. McCrimmon be elected as chair of the committee. Are there any further motions? All right, we'll proceed pursuant to the order of Wednesday, September 23rd. I will now proceed to a recorded division. The question is that, as moved by Mr. Svenjman, that Karen McCrimmon be elected chair of the committee. Ms. McCrimmon.
In favor.
Mr. Baker.
Favor.
Ms. Vandenbelt.
In favor.
Mr. Svenjman.
In favor.
Monsieur Robillard.
En faveur.
In favor.
Mr. Bagnall.
Favor.
Mr. Benson.
In favor.
Mr. Bazin.
In favor.
Mr. Dowdall.
In favor.
Ms. Gallant.
In favor.
Monsieur Brunel Duceppe.
In favor.
And Mr. Garrison.
In favor.
I declare the motion carried and Ms. Karen McCrimmon duly elected chair of the committee. I invite Ms. McCrimmon to take the chair.
Merci beaucoup. Merci, Monsieur le.
Thank you to the clerk and thank you to all of my colleagues. Thank you for your trust. It is an honor for me to be the chair of this committee, and I look forward to us getting down to work. So welcome to each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
And if the committee is in agreement, we can now proceed to the election of the vice chairs. Pursuant to Standing Order 1062, the first vice chair must be a member of the official opposition. I'm now prepared to receive motions for the first vice chair.
Carol Gallant, Chair. I move that the first vice chair be James Bazan.
All right, it has been moved by Ms. Gallant that Mr. Bazan be elected as first vice chair of the committee. Are there any further motions? Seeing none, I'll now move to the recorded division as pursuant to the House Order of Wednesday, September 23rd. And the question is that Mr. Bazan be elected as first vice chair of the committee. Ms. McCrimmon.
In favor.
Mr. Baker.
In favor.
Ms. Vandenbelt.
In favor.
Mr. Svenjman.
In favor.
Monsieur Robillard.
En faveur.
In favor.
Mr. Bagnall.
Favor.
Mr. Benson.
In favor.
Mr. Bazan.
In favor.
Mr. Dowdall.
In favor.
Ms. Gallant.
In favor.
Monsieur Brunel Duceppe.
In favor.
Mr. Garrison.
In favor.
I declare the motion carried and Mr. Bazan duly elected first vice chair of the committee. We can now proceed to the election of the second vice chair. Pursuant to Standing Order 1062, the second vice chair must be a member of an opposition party other than the official opposition. I am now prepared to receive motions for the second vice chair. Mr. Baker.
Merci beaucoup. J'aimerais
Thank you. I would like to suggest that Mr. Brunel Duceppe be elected as second vice president. Moved by Mr. Baker that Mr. Brunel Duceppe be elected second vice chair of the committee. Are there any further motions?
House Order of Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020. I will now proceed to a recorded division. The question is that Monsieur Brunel Duceppe be elected as second vice chair of the committee. Ms. McCrimmon.
In favor.
Mr. Baker.
in favor.
Ms. Vandenbeld.
In favor.
Mr. Spengeman.
In favor?
Monsieur Robillard.
En favor.
In favor.
Mr. Bagnall.
En favor.
In favor.
Mr. Benson.
In favor.
Mr. Bazan.
In favor.
Mr. Dowdle.
In favor.
Ms. Gallant.
In favor.
Monsieur Brunel Duceppe.
Monsieur Brunel Duceppe, in favor.
And Mr. Garrison.
In favor.
Je déclare la motion adoptée et Monsieur Brunel
I declare the motion carried and Mr. Brunel Duceppe duly elected second vice chair of the committee.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And I just wanted to say it's so good to see you all here today. We have so much good work to do. I'm really excited to get moving and get forward. And I want to thank you for making the first part of this meeting so easy and straightforward. And now we can we'll move on and look at the routine motions. There are a couple of different ways of doing that, and I'll go with. I think if we will go through the routine motions one by one. Someone will read it out, and I hope I have a volunteer for that. And then it'll be an opportunity for if there's any input anybody wants to make, any debate, please use the raise hand function. And I think the raise hand function is good in that it actually logs. If you look on the side, it logs who put their hands up first, and it makes it a lot easier for me to kind of keep track of who's waiting to speak on a particular issue. So, and as well, once you've spoken, then would you lower your hand back down? So I know that on that particular issue, everyone who wanted a chance to speak has had a chance to speak, and that's my job, is to make sure that everyone has a chance to speak and has the opportunity to be heard. And so that's exactly what I'm going to be working on. If along the way we come up with a slightly different way that is fairer or more transparent, I'm more than willing to consider it. This is just a way for us to get started. Later on, when it comes to voting, if we end up voting on motions, etc., then we have more discussions to do. So just to start, when we want to have a debate, when we want to talk about a motion, use the raise hand. And then when we come to time and it's time for a vote on a motion, we could either do it quickly and we could use just the visual reference of raising your hand, or if a recorded division is requested, then we can do that as well. All right. So anyway, let's start then with the routine motions. And someone who is going to start the routine motions? Ivan, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And you'll see I raised my hand in the raise hand feature. So trying to lead us off appropriately as per the directions of the Chair. Chair, what I wanted to do was to just, I guess I'll move the routine motions. These are the same motions we had in place previously. I guess I'll move them one at a time unless you direct me otherwise, Chair. So I'll move the first motion, and this is, I'm reading from the document that was circulated by the clerk under analyst services, that the committee retain as needed and at the discretion of the chair the services of one or more analysts from the Library of Parliament to assist in its work.
All right. Is there any debate? Any input? Okay, seeing none. All in favor, raise your hands. Okay, that works all right. Okay. So thank you very much. Okay, first one. All right, next routine motion.
That the subcommittee on agenda and procedure be established and be composed of 5 members, namely the chair and 1 member from each recognized party, and that the subcommittee work in a spirit of collaboration.
All right. Do we have anybody who would like to debate or input on this particular motion?
You lost me at collaboration. But
Okay. All right, Ivan, did you want to speak or you're just, no, I don't see anybody else wanting to speak on this motion. Are we good? Trying to read these eyes and I'm reading these little lists of people, making sure I've got everybody an opportunity to speak who wanted to speak. So, okay, I don't see any further people who want to discuss this motion any further. So all in favor? And I see the motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay, motion number 3.
That meeting without a quorum, that the chair be authorized to hold meetings to receive and publish evidence when a quorum is not present, including a member of the opposition and 1 member of the government. But when traveling outside the parliamentary precinct, the meeting begin after 15 minutes, regardless of members present.
Anybody like? Yes, Mr. Bazan.
I believe we'd like to amend that motion so that it would read, including 2 members of the opposition and 2 members of the government.
All right. Any further? There's an amendment on the floor. Okay. Did anybody have any other further debate or discussion? No. So let us, seeing there's none, let's vote on this amendment.
Chair, I think Ms. Gallant had.
Okay. Ms. Gallant, go ahead.
Can you clarify if that is 2 members of any opposition, or does one have to include the official opposition? Just seeking clarification there.
It's my understanding that'd just be 2 members of the opposition, regardless of party affiliation.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Any further debate on this motion? This amendment, sorry. Okay, all in favor of the amendment? Okay, the amendment passes. Then we go back to the main motion. And now, so the entirety of the motion, the amendment is including 2 members of the opposition and 2 members of the government. So all in favor of the motion as amended. Okay, all right. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, number 4.
you, Chair. That witnesses be given 10 minutes for their opening statement, that at the discretion of the chair during the questioning of witnesses, there be allocated 6 minutes for the first questioner of each party as follows. Round 1, Conservative Party, Liberal Party, Bloc Québécois, New Democratic Party. For the second and subsequent rounds, the order and time for questioning be as follows. Conservative Party 5 minutes, Liberal Party 5 minutes, Conservative Party 5 minutes, Liberal Party 5 minutes, Bloc Québécois 2.5 minutes, New Democratic Party 2.5 minutes.
All right, we have the motion. Does anybody want to debate or put an intervention in at this time?
A question?
Go ahead.
Madam Chair. Are these particular sets of rules that we're agreeing upon now applicable just to while Parliament is in this state of virtual reality, or when we return to full in-person meetings, will these remain the same?
But Monsieur Leclerc, Le Greffier?
Yeah, these routine motions would be in effect for the entire session. That's not to say that the committee, when the pandemic ceases or is over, the committee could always revisit any routine motion and adjust them whenever they see fit.
Thank you.
You have further? No? Okay. All right. So there's no further discussion on this motion?
Madam Chair, I've had the raise hand function on. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Yes, I'd like to propose an amendment to this routine order. So I'd like to move that the routine motion be amended to replace the text regarding the second round of questioning with the following. For the second round and subsequent rounds, the order and time for questioning be as follows. Conservative Party 5 minutes, Liberal Party 5 minutes, Bloc Québécois 2.5 minutes, New Democratic Party 2.5 minutes, Conservative Party 5 minutes, Liberal Party 5 minutes.
All right, I register that amendment. Any discussion points on the amendment?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Again, I got the raised hand, so that's not working too well, so we'll not do it that way. I did ask that the clerk circulate this in advance, so I hope people can see the text. I'm not sure that happened. I think what this does is that it makes sure that we have diverse voices in each of the rounds as we go through, because the way things tend to work is that the block and the NDP tended to get dropped out of the second round completely by the timing. So that's my reason for proposing this motion.
Okay. All right. Any other debate? Okay. All in favor of this amendment? Okay. Looks like the amendment carries. So then let's go back to the main motion then. So the main motion as amended. The main motion as amended. All in favor? Okay, motion carries. The amended motion carries. Number 5.
Thank you, Chair. That only the clerk of the committee be authorized to distribute documents to members of the committee, and only when such documents exist in both official languages, and that witnesses be advised accordingly.
Any debate? Seeing none, all in favor of this motion? Motion carries. Motion 6.
Thank you, Chair. Working meals. That the clerk of the committee be authorized to make the necessary arrangements to provide working meals for the committee and its subcommittees.
Any debate?
I'd like to move an amendment.
Go ahead, Mr. Bazan.
Because we are working mainly virtually, and there'll be some members who may or may not be in attendance physically. when they're in Ottawa, that I would like to add at the end of that motion, provided that members have confirmed their physical presence for the meeting, so that we're not ordering extra food.
Okay. Any further discussion on the proposed amendment? All in favor of the proposed amendment? All right, so we'll go back to the main motion then. Go back to the main motion as amended. All those in favor? All right, great, thank you very much. Number 7.
Thank you, Chair. That this is under travel accommodation and living expenses of witnesses. That if requested, reasonable travel accommodation and living expenses be reimbursed to witnesses not exceeding 2 representatives per organization, and that in exceptional circumstances, payment for more representatives be made at the discretion of the chair.
Any debate? Seeing no debate, all in favor of this motion? Motion carries. Thank you. Motion 8.
Access to in-camera meetings. That unless otherwise ordered, each committee member be allowed to have 1 staff member at in-camera meetings, and that 1 additional person from each House officer's office be allowed to be present.
Anyone for a debate on this motion? Oh, Monsieur Brunel Duceppe.
Yes. Congratulations, Chair. I wanted to say that to start out with. I don't know where to insert this comment I have because these Zoom meetings are new for us. But I would like to know, if possible, if our assistants might access our meetings, they too, via Zoom, because I'm the only one plugging into the channel in French so that my colleagues can hear me directly. But I follow with interpretation, and it's trickier for me as a francophone. Perhaps my assistant is more comfortable in English than myself. Sometimes he can't always follow everything by phone. So this is a question for the chair and the clerk. Can our assistants participate, or rather tune into our meetings via Zoom?
Intervention. Mr. Leclerc, do you have some further information? I know it was a technology limitation. Do we think that we might see our way to making it more available to staff members?
At present, no. The policy is that staff members are allowed to, we have listen live telephone lines, or they can watch on ParlView, which has about a 70-second delay. However, if we have an in-camera meeting, each MP is allowed to have a staff member in the Zoom meeting for an in-camera meeting. So if we do have any in-camera meetings we have, you remember, and they wouldn't have to be situated next to you. They could be elsewhere in the country, as long as we would give them the link and the password, and they would sign in, and we just wouldn't activate their camera, and we wouldn't have their microphone on, so they wouldn't be they wouldn't be at the table per se, but they would be in the room.
And Monsieur Brunel Duceppe, and then Mr. Bazin.
In that case, in the spirit of the motion, I would have an amendment, and I would ask that we allow staff to access our meetings at all times.
Okay. Is that a formal amendment to the motion?
I can send it to you, yeah, but it's a formal amendment.
Okay. Mr. Bazin.
I don't have a great deal of difficulty with what's being proposed by Monsieur Brunel Duceppe. I think that if we're going to have our staff come into in-camera meetings, which could happen relatively quickly, that we have to be moving to in-camera, then we have to go through the whole process of having them, come into Zoom after they've been watching on ParlView or listening in by calling into the committee meeting live. So I think that from the standpoint of moving people efficiently between in-camera and out-of-camera meetings would be good. I would just request that if that's the case, that they would not be allowed to have microphone or even video privileges, that they just strictly be there to watch the proceedings, as they would if we're in the House or in committee physically.
All right, Mr. Bagnall.
I understand the amendment is to have staff allow them to be available for all meetings. And I just wanted to wonder if the clerk could elaborate a bit more on why the policy is in place the way it is. Was it a decision of Proc, or is it a technical thing, or?
Yeah, I believe it's more in line with a technical issue, and House administration has taken some policy decisions with this regard. So I would just ask members to please sort of bear in mind that the transition to Zoom has sort of been thrust upon the House. So a lot of these questions are being answered on the fly. The way that committees proceeded throughout the summer was no members' assistants could participate in the Zoom meetings unless it wasn't in camera. And even that only came partway through the summer. I would suggest that I would need to do a bit more research on our tech capabilities and come back to the committee with an answer, because I would not feel comfortable at this time saying, sure, that's fine. One thing I would like to clarify, though, with regard to a committee moving from a public sitting to an in-camera meeting, it's not something that we can do on the fly anymore. If a committee wishes to go in camera, we have to suspend. What we do is we actually create an entirely new Zoom meeting, and because it's actually a completely different Zoom meeting, members would be issued a new link, a new password, and then we would have to return in that fashion. So even if, like light speed, we want to switch over to in camera, you're looking at a 15-minute window, and that's really, really moving quickly. If we know in advance that part of a meeting is going to be in camera, we can trim that down a little bit, but even then, 15 minutes is pretty much breakneck speed for switching from public to in camera. Anyway.
Okay, copy. I have 4 hands up, so do you all still want to talk? So I have Mr. Bagnall, did you want to speak again? Or was your question answered?
Sorry, my question was answered. It might be appropriate then to just defer this to the next meeting while the clerk does his research on the technical stuff.
Okay. All right, Mr. Garrison.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. With all due respect to the clerk, it's hard for me to understand how there could be a technical limitation that wouldn't apply in camera meetings. So I think what we need to do in the spirit of Mr. Brunel Duceppe's motion is to say under the same limitations as in camera meetings. And so if it works in camera meetings to have one for each one, then it should work in our general meetings to have one staff member for each person and one from the whip's office. And there is no technical difference between those two. So I'm not sure whether you need a formal amendment, but all staff be offered access under the same limitations as an in-camera meeting.
Right. There is Monsieur Brunel Duceppe. One more time.
No, Mr. Garrison. Mr. Garrison just used the idea I used, but I understand the clerk, and I understand that it's something that we had to deal with on the fly. But and we would like to do this in a good spirit. and I'll wait. I'll be impatient to find out, as my colleague said. We'll wait for the information to come to us, perhaps on the technical side, and we can wait for the next meeting. But I think it would be an advantage for everyone if we change this way, the way of doing things.
These are not just technical limitations. These are also the parameters that had been agreed to by the whips of the various parties when they negotiated how these meetings would take place and the House administration's ability to support the meetings. So I will get back with you to you next meeting with a concrete answer one way or the other.
All right, thank you very much, Clerk. So, Mr. Bernard-Duceppe, would you like a vote on your motion, or would you like to withdraw it and just defer it till the next meeting when we get a report back from the clerk?
I think we have a consensus here that we can wait for the next meeting to have the technical explanations, and once we have those technical information, we can vote. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. All right.
Thank you very much.
So unamended then, routine motion number 8, unamended. Any further discussion? All those in favor of routine motion 8? Motion 8 carries. Thank you. And thank you. We will get an answer about the motion, and as time goes on, we're all just learning this, right? So me too. So anyway, we'll need to have a little bit of flexibility, and I appreciate your willingness to help here and keep this moving forward. Okay, motion number 9.
Thank you, Chair. That the transcripts of in-camera meetings, that one copy of the transcript of each in-camera meeting be kept in the committee clerk's office for consultation by members of the committee or by their staff.
Right? Is there any debate? Seeing none, all those in favor of this motion? Motion's carried. Motion number 10.
Notice of motion, that 48 hours notice interpreted as 2 nights shall be required for any substantive motion to be considered by the committee, unless the substantive motion relates directly to business then under consideration, provided that one notice be filed with the clerk of the committee no later than 4 p.m. from Monday to Friday. The motion be distributed to members in both official languages by the clerk on the same day the said notice was transmitted if it was received no later than the deadline hour, and that notice is received after the deadline hour or on non-business days be deemed to have been received during the next business day, and that when the committee is traveling on official business, no substantive motions be moved.
All right, is there any debate on this motion?
Just a quick question. Is that the identical routine motion that we had in the last session?
Yes, I believe it is. None of these were changed. Okay, no further discussion. All in favor of this motion? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Motion number 11.
Orders of reference from the House respecting bills. That in relation to orders of reference from the House respecting bills, A, the clerk of the committee shall, upon the committee receiving such an order of reference, write to each member who is not a member of a caucus represented on the committee to invite those members to file with the clerk of the committee in both official languages any amendments to the bill, which is the subject of the said order, which they would suggest that the committee consider. B, suggested amendments filed pursuant to paragraph A at least 48 hours prior to the start of clause-by-clause consideration of the bill to which the amendments relate shall be deemed to be proposed during the said consideration, provided that the committee may, by motion, vary this deadline in respect of a given bill. And C, during the clause-by-clause consideration of a bill, The chair shall allow a member who filed suggested amendments pursuant to paragraph A an opportunity to make brief representations in support of them.
Any debate on this motion? Madame Galante.
Does this include independents, or do they have to be a member of a recognized official party?
To the clerk.
This would be to cover independence as well. What we're trying to do is not what we're what the intent of the motion is that we don't clog up report stage with amendments that could have been moved in committee. So that would include independence.
Any further debate on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor of motion number 11? Motion carries. Motion number 12.
Televised or webcast meetings that when a minister, the chief of defense staff, or any other officer of parliament and or ombudsman appear before the committee, that any public meetings be televised or, if not possible, webcast.
Any debate on this motion? Nope. Seeing no debate. All those in favor of this motion? Motion carries. All right. That sees us through the routine motions. So thank you for your cooperation in making that as straightforward as possible. So, Mr. Bazan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I think that we probably want to start organizing our work, and I believe that there is a number of things that we can do quickly, as well as some things that we want to take on that are more substantive. So I have circulated notice of 3 motions, and I'd like to start off with motion number 3, which is that the committee invite the Minister of National Defense to appear before the main estimates for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2021, no later than November 4th, 2020, for no fewer than 2 hours, and that the meeting be televised. And just for reference, the main estimates were tabled some time ago, back in March, I believe. And so it's without having a budget to look at, I think it's important that we get the minister here and talk about the main estimates. It's also considering that we haven't met since March.
All right, Mr. Baker.
So I wanted to suggest that in the last sitting, one of the things that we did well, in a spirit of collaboration, is that I thought we worked well together. Those of us who are on the members of the subcommittee to help shape the agenda, prioritize, and shape the agenda for the committee's work. And so what I was going to suggest is, would it make sense to have the subcommittee meet to do that again, and incorporate all the suggestions from all the various members, because I'm sure most of us here have ideas about the kinds of work that we would want the committee to do. And then we sit down and those of us who are on the subcommittee can go through that work and come to a resolution that allows all of our interests to be accommodated.
Okay, Mr. Garrison.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair. While I generally support the suggestion that we send everything to the steering committee, before we adjourned for COVID, we had agreed that to invite the Ambassador for Women, Peace and Security to the committee. And also, Mr. Bazan has a motion, which I think there's broad support for, examining the impact of COVID on the Canadian forces. So my suggestion would be that, so that we can get started expeditiously, that we agree to do those 2 things, on which I think there's broad consensus, and refer all the other motions to the subcommittee for establishing priorities.
And I don't disagree with that, Madam Chair. Just as a point of order, you have a motion on the floor. We should should debate first and then move forward.
Sure. So this is it. If we have the motion on the floor deals with the visit for the estimates, right? Okay. Okay. So it is. I don't think there's any objection to coming to speak about the estimates. I don't, and I think that's probably something that if we need something short order, I don't know what is out. I agree with the point that we've got a couple of things. If we want to send most stuff to the subcommittee for consideration, we'd have a little bit of free time before they'd come back to us with their plan. So if they're the ones who are going to prioritize and come up with an agenda and a calendar and stuff, maybe there are a couple of things that can be done in the meantime before we. So is that what you're suggesting, Mr. Bazan?
That is, until we have our work schedule organized and witnesses called on other motions, I think we can do some of these other ones that are fairly straightforward. And of course, the one that's most straightforward is to have the minister appear on the main estimate.
Ms. Vandenbeld.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I note that there's a motion on the floor, but I also noted, I think there's broad agreement in terms of the way to proceed. So what I would suggest is certainly on Mr. Bazan's motion and the interest in the committee on the COVID response of the CAF, we could certainly invite officials as one of the priorities to have them brief us. I do note that Mr. Garrison also, and this was supposed to be our next meeting in March, was to have Jacqueline O'Neill, the Ambassador for Women, Peace and Security. And as always, the minister is very happy to appear at this committee and certainly making sure to look at his calendar to see what his availability is. That gives us 3 meetings right off the bat. So what I may propose is that if Mr. Bazan, if you withdraw your motion, the committee can agree that those 3 would be the first meetings, and then we can, in the meantime, have a meeting of the subcommittee to prioritize whatever motions have been sent, but also motions that may not have been sent yet by members.
I will not withdraw. I think that we pass the motions of the ones that we want to work on. And I should also make a note that main estimates have to be reported back to the House, I believe, before November 24th. So, we have the responsibility here. It's just not about organizing our schedule. It's about being responsible parliamentarians and hearing from the minister on the spending plans for the department on the main estimates. So let's deal with this one, and then we can move on to the other 2 suggestions by Randall, which I support.
Okay, Madame Gallant.
I should note that despite the wishes and the desire on the part of the minister to be there whenever he can in our committee, that the last several times we've had to vote on the main estimates, he has not made himself available until the vote was already deemed agreed upon in committee and passed without our ever having heard from him. And so that is my concern about taking Mr. Bazan's motion off the table at this time.
I don't I don't think there's any. If we want to make it a priority motion and we send 3 priority motions to the steering committee, knowing that they have to get done in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I think that's something that could respect the spirit of what people are trying to achieve here. I think that's the case. I don't think we necessarily have to have Mr. Bazan withdraw his motion, but other people may want to put their motions forward, and we'll send them all to the steering. Mr. Bagnall, and then Monsieur Brunel-Duceppe.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get some clarification. I understand Anita's proposing the two of Mr. Garrison's motion and Mr. Bazan's motion. And Mr. Bazan's motion would occur when the minister is available sometime between those first three meetings. But I want to clarify from Mr. Bazan, did your motion say the very first meeting is the only one the minister would be at?
No, the only clarification on ours is that it has to happen before November 4th.
Sorry, on your motion.
That's what the motion reads. And I will circulate it. Is it possible, Madam Chair, for our clerk to put the motions on a share screen? So that anybody that doesn't have them in front of them, even though motions have been previously circulated, that people can see it?
It's a tricky proposition. The difficulty is it makes for bad TV, and it may not be legible to viewers at home. The motions have been distributed previous to the meeting, so everybody should have a copy, and they are available in the committee's binders website source for all members.
All right, Mr. Bernadette.
Yes, thank you. I believe that a great many motions will be put forward today. So, and I too have a motion, and there might even be an amendment to my motion. So if we have that many motions, perhaps we should table them today and leave the committee do its work. I mean, logically, I would table all of these motions today, and I would give the subcommittee an opportunity to set our priorities. Because I believe my colleagues would agree with me on that.
Okay, Ms. Vandenbelt.
Yes, actually, I was going to suggest a potential friendly amendment where Mr. Bazan, if we could suggest that the chair in the first three meetings look at having Ms. Jacqueline O'Neill, the minister, on the estimates and a briefing by officials on the COVID response of CAF, and then let all other motions stand for the steering committee. Mr. Brunel Duceppe has suggested all motions stand. I think that is okay too, but what the concern would be is if the steering committee doesn't get to meet immediately, we do want to have something for next week. So I wonder if instead of tabling everything, if Mr. Bazan, would you agree that the chair be advised to have those three as the first meetings, or would you like to proceed? Because I think that we've all agreed on this. It's just a procedural thing now. I think we all know what we'd like to do in the beginning, and I think the chair would have to check availability of all of those, including Ms. Jackie O'Neill. So my suggestion would be a friendly amendment that the chair start with those three meetings, and then all other motions be stand until such time that the steering committee gets to meet to discuss.
Madam Chair, may I?
Go ahead, Mr. Bazan.
So there's no such thing as a friendly amendment. So I've looked for it in O'Brien Bosk and in the latest edition, as well as in standing orders. I just say this: let's deal with this motion. It doesn't tie the hands of our chair in organizing work beyond November 4th. So I think it's quite straightforward to find the time in those first three meetings, which happened during the month of October, to get this to happen. And then I have no problem if we want to do more of an omnibus motion listing the three notice of motions that we want to have dealt with in the first three meetings, including the ambassador for women, Jackie O'Neill. So I think that would be acceptable. But so let's deal with this motion and move on and get the rest of the work done.
Okay, so we have a new, thank you, Mr. Bazan. So we have one on the floor about having the minister come for estimates before November 4th. And also someone else brought up a point that maybe not everyone has all of their motions submitted. Some people may not have come prepared to bring a motion to the floor today. So maybe we should actually open that up as well later on. But I think we can go ahead and vote on having the minister come for the estimates. So are we good? Does anyone else want to weigh in on that? Mr. Baker.
I just wanted to weigh in on Mr. Bazan's motion in regards to the minister coming to the committee with regards to the main estimates. I note that in his motion he says that it'll be for no fewer than 2 hours. And I guess a couple of points. I mean, one is I don't know if the minister is going to be available for the full 2 hours on the dates that we can meet. So I don't know if that's something that we can secure or not. I just don't know. I'm new to the federal office and how it works here, but that's sort of a question I wanted to put out there. Maybe that's a question for the chair or for the clerk, how we deal with that. And the second thing I'll put out is I know that the minister's been very available to this committee, both when we were sitting in the spring and the winter, but also in the past. So I feel as though if we had to stick to 1 hour, I'd be comfortable with that.
Anyone else? Okay. And all right. So I think then at this time we can have a vote on Mr.
Point of order. Point of order.
Mm-hmm.
Was Mr. Baker suggesting an amendment to Mr. Bazan's motion? No? Okay. Very good. Thank you.
All right, then we can have a vote on Mr. Bazan's motion to have the minister come for 2 hours to talk about the main estimates before November the 4th. Have I got the major parts of that correctly? Okay, any further debate on this motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Okay, motion carried. All right, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Garrett, oh, sorry, Mr. Brunel Duceppe, and then Madame Vandenbeld, and then Mr. Garrison.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I, too, would like to present a motion to the committee. I will read it out to you. You should have received it. That, pursuant to Standing Order 1082, the committee undertake a study on the effects of the aging of the CF-18 fleet and the operational capacity of the Canadian Armed Forces. That, as part of this study, the committee examined the impacts of the repeated delays in procuring new aircraft, the growing workload involved in maintaining the current aircraft, and the availability of personnel to carry out these operations, among other issues. And in so doing, the committee assessed the options for improving the operational process of replacing the CF-18, including by engaging the services of Quebec's aerospace industry, and that the committee report its findings and recommendations to the House. Thank you. I believe there is going to be an amendment.
Is it possible to move that amendment?
Pardon me?
Is it possible to move that amendment?
Okay, so is there debate on this motion? Madame Vanderbilt.
No, just a point of clarification. Is Mr. Brunel Duceppe moving his motion or tabling his motion right now? Because I think we had discussed that we were going to table all motions except for the first few meetings, just to clarify.
Okay.
Non, moi je la dépose, c'est ce que.
I'm tabling it. That's what I'd planned on doing, tabling this motion.
All right, so we have a motion that's tabled. It's and we've just voted on Mr. Bazan's motion. Okay, any other, we were talking about doing some other short-term work. Did you want to agree to that now or send that to the subcommittee as well? Anybody want to, Madame
Non,
Vanderbilt?
moi, j'enverrais ça au sous-comité pour la priorisation.
I would refer this to the subcommittee, but I want to move it today.
All right, so Madame Vanderbilt.
Yes, so I'm not entirely clear because since there's a motion on the floor, I was planning to put a motion that I think would supersede that one, but I think Mr. Brunel Duceppe, because his motion is on the floor, I'm not sure if I'm in order, but what I would like to propose is a motion that says that in the first few meetings, in the first week, we hear from Jackie O'Neill and that we have a briefing on Operation Laser and that all other motions be tabled to the subcommittee. But I don't know if I'm in order if Mr. Brunel Duceppe has his motion on the floor.
All right, I think he has his motion on the floor. That's my understanding, Mr. Clerk. So we have to deal with that motion. And then Madame Gallant.
I would like to propose an amendment to the motion to have the government respond to the report and to include Canadian companies, not just Quebec companies, to come and appear as witnesses.
Okay, so this is the challenge of what are we going to do in our committee and what are we going to do in our subcommittee? So this is a decision. I know the subcommittee's job is to prioritize things and come up with a calendar of work. Or we could spend a lot of time here on motions and amendments and then actually kind of supersede the work of the subcommittee. So, and I've also heard from others who say they weren't ready with a motion and they want to table some motions. So we could go ahead. We have the one motion from Mr. Bazan that's been passed. What we need is two short things that don't take, or two or three short little things that don't take a lot of organization, and that may be included, officials, so who are a little easier to get for witnesses than maybe some of for a larger study. I think that's the big thing. So if we could find a way to put a motion forward for one or two other small little studies or small little briefings or something, and then refer everything else to the steering committee, then we'll make sure that, and we could also set a deadline if you want to table, if you want to send in another motion for a study, another study motion, we could make it so that it needs to be into the clerk by Friday end of day or whatever people would like to see, and then the subcommittee will have dealt with what we need to keep us to make good use of the next week or something while the subcommittee is putting their plan together. I think, do I kind of understand that correctly? Is that where we are?
Just a point of order, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I believe Mr. Duceppe had a motion on the floor and I had an amendment to his motion. So I would like to know, are we going to deal with the amendment and then the motion? We just can't, or is Mr. Duceppe expected to pull his motion off the floor altogether?
No, I don't think that's been said at all. I'm just trying to find a way. I'm trying to listen to what everybody's having to say and making sure that I understand what you're trying to achieve here and trying to make a way forward so that everybody gets what they want. Yes, Mr. Brunet.
Well, listen, as Madame Gallant was saying, we have this motion. And an amendment was put forward by Ms. Gallant, and I agree with that amendment. I think we could vote on the motion right away, and then we'll move on to the rest. I think that would resolve the issues that we're experiencing right now.
Okay. So we have an amendment. We have a motion on the floor from Monsieur Brunet-Duceppe. We have an amendment from Madame Gallant.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Garrison.
I'm sorry to be a bit petulant, but you have to consult the raised hand function. Either we use it or we don't use it.
Yeah.
And so, so that's my point of order.
I think there must be a lag because I looked at it. There wasn't hands up, and then I go back. But anyway, this could be my terrible internet. Go ahead, Mr. Garrison.
So my proposal is that we not use it because it's going to cause a problem. So at this point, I think we understand what we're trying to do here, and so I will move to refer Ms. Gallant's amendment and the main motion from Mr. Brunel-Duceppe to the steering committee.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Garrison to refer the amendment by Madame Gallant and the motion by Monsieur Brunel-Duceppe to the steering committee. Any further debate? Not seeing any. All those in favor of that motion? Motion carried. All right. I think, does anybody want to make a suggestion before about more motions? Yeah, Madame Vanderbilt.
So now I would put the motion that I originally mentioned, which is that we invite Madam Jacqueline O'Neill, we invite officials to talk about the CAF COVID response and table all other motions to the subcommittee.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from Madame Vanderbilt. Yes, Mr. Spengeman, then Mr. Bazan.
Madam Chair, I did not want to speak to that motion. I had a couple of additional ideas, or at least one additional motion that I would table. So I will go back in the queue and speak later on, if that's okay.
Okay. Anyone who want to speak on Madame Vandenbeld's submission? Yes, Mr. Bazan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would ask that we amend Ms. Vanderbilt's motion so that it refers directly to Mr. Garrison's motion inviting Jacqueline O'Neill, and directed at my motion number 2, which is that we have a meeting regarding to the SARS-CoV-2 and its impact on Canadian operations of the Canadian Armed Forces operations domestically and abroad.
That was my intent.
All right, that sounds good. So all those, any further debate on Madame Vanderbilt's motion? All those in favor? Motion carried. All right.
Actually, if I could just intervene for 1 sec, just because I'm going to have to minute this. So the motion that we are adopting would be Mr. Garrison's motion with regard to inviting the Ambassador for Women, Peace, and Security. We're going to consider that adopted, as well as the motion by Mr. Bazan for now. In the motion that Mr. Bazan had put forward was for 3 meetings on a very small study, I guess, on the COVID-19 impact on Canadian Armed Forces.
I don't think.
Was it just an initial briefing on that subject matter is what we're agreeing to?
That was my understanding.
Okay. And then
Mr. Bazan?
I would accept that as being part of the study that we're going to undertake in motion number 2 of that initial briefing. And again, it comes down that you as chair and as the steering committee can organize our work. But I still would like it to refer to motion number 2, and that briefing would be just the first step in how everything from Operation Laser Work to withdrawing forces from international deployments.
Okay, I think we understand now. Mr. Clerk, you're good now? All right, good.
So just to maintain my own sanity then in trying to corral all of this, what I'm going to do is take the other motions that have been submitted and with the permission of the members present, I could insert them into the minutes as notices of motion and put them right into the minutes, and then refer to those notices of motion as being referred to the steering committee. Is this the understanding?
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
I- I'm
Yes,
good. I'm good with that direction. I would also, knowing that Mr. Spingaman is probably bringing forward another motion, and I had one other motion on military justice that I want to present. Do we present it here, or do you prefer that we go ahead and submit those for study at the subcommittee?
Thank you. That's a really good point, Mr. Bazan. And I wanted to give everybody a chance, maybe who did not come with a motion ready to be tabled today, to actually bring a motion forward. So if we could set, Mike, if there's a time frame, what is people think it's reasonable? 2 or 3 days, have it to the clerk if you want it to be included in the submission to the subcommittee. But today's Wednesday, by the end of the day on Friday. So if you have any other motions that have not yet been submitted, submit it to the clerk by the end of day on Friday, and then it will be included in this as a notice of motion to go to the steering committee.
Just a point of clarification, anything that comes after today won't be in the minutes as being referred, but what is referred to the subcommittee today, that does not curtail any other motion from being brought forward at the steering committee.
Okay. All right. Copy that. All right. So I think that's sweet, Mr. Bazan.
Yes, and I'll just give notice of motion on this then, and we'll circulate it to committee, that the committee undertake a study on the military justice system in the Canadian Armed Forces, that the study be composed of no fewer than 7 meetings, and that the findings be reported to the House, and the government table a comprehensive response.
Okay. All right. And you submitted that one already to the clerk or not?
We will submit it right now.
Okay, copy that. All right, thank you very much. Mr. Spengeman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that constructive direction to send motions in for consideration. I'd like to put a notice of motion forward for a study on extremism in the Canadian Armed Forces. And the motion is that the committee undertake a study of no fewer than 4 meetings studying the prevalence of white supremacy, racism, and discrimination within the Canadian Armed Forces, the impact on Canadian Forces recruitment, morale, and operational effectiveness, and recommend actions to combat, minimize, and eliminate them in a report to be presented to the House. Madam Chair, I will forward this motion in writing to the clerk by end of day.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Spengeman. All right. So, any further questions? I think we've come up. Yes, Mr. Bagnall. Oh, Mr. Bagnall, you're on mute.
Just information notice that I'll be submitting to the clerk. The motion of Mr. Bazan and NORAD, we had agreed to a northern dimension of that in the last committee, so I'll just be submitting the exact same wording that we all agreed to last time.
Okay. All right.
Times change, Larry. Times change.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think we have a good way forward here. I want to thank you all. It certainly was a spirit of collaboration and working together, and we've got some really important work to do here. And I really want to thank you all for being so considered and working together with your colleagues, and we'll get to work next week. So thank you very much, and I hereby adjourn this meeting.